Hey everyone, it's Kute here. Today I want to talk about real wealth and real abundance. So often in our culture we're conditioned to think of wealth and abundance as what you accumulate, your savings, the money you have, your stocks, your car, your real estate, the physical material things that you might accumulate and accomplish in your life. Nothing wrong with these things at all. They're all part of the play of life, the beauty of life, the expression of life. They're great. But I propose to you that real wealth has nothing to do, real wealth has nothing to do with the material which is always fluctuating and going up and going down and accumulating and being lost and is completely impermanent. That perhaps real wealth is something far more authentic. Perhaps real wealth is something far more real and true. That real wealth isn't simply what you accomplish, what you accumulate, but real wealth is not simply what you have, but true wealth is about how you feel about what you have, is about your relationship with all of that. That real wealth is about how you feel about who you are. That real wealth is not the material possessions that you have, but real wealth is about who you are. When you are tapped into and tuned into your true self, your true identity beyond the material, you realize your true self, your true source. You realize then that your source is not the things outside of yourself. It's not simply your job, it's not simply your house, it's not simply rooted in the world, but real wealth. Real wealth is connected to the inherent recognition of your true self, which is infinite, which is pure consciousness, which is infinite. And as you tap into this true self that you are, then you tap into an inexhaustible stream of abundance and energy, and an inexhaustible stream and an inexhaustible source of energy and light and possibilities that are always available to you moment to moment to moment. And from that place you will be guided in ways you cannot even imagine, so that the things you need at the perfect time you need them flow to you in the perfect way, beyond your limited mind, beyond your expectation. Real wealth is really about how you feel. And I've met some of the richest people that really in their own consciousness are the poorest people. And I've met some of the poorest people that in their consciousness are so generous, so loving, because they realize that the material things do not define who they are. What you have and what you accumulate does not define who you are and does not define your true spirit. Has nothing to do with who you are and the real abundance of your being. And as you realize that, you move yourself into a consciousness that's expanded, a consciousness of pure abundance, and you become truly wealthy. The universe is abundant. There's the universe that brought you into existence, that is living and breathing all of life itself and constantly regenerating all of existence, including nature, is the source of everything. Then you hold on to nothing because you realize ultimately nothing is yours. Nothing is yours. You take nothing with you. So from that place you can open your heart from a space of love, from a space of generosity, and share and spread and give away who and what you are, knowing that the more you give it away, the more you're able to receive, the more you share, the more the universe will bless you. And ultimately, the real abundance is you sharing yourself and sharing your gifts with the world. Reminds me of many years ago when I had the blessing of walking the Camino de Santiago, which is a 900-kilometer trek through northern Spain. It's on a ley line, an energetic vortex line that people like Dante and Chaucer walked. And it's said that when a human being comes in contact with a ley line for a period of time, it triggers healing. It triggers, unconscious processing. It has a profound impact on the nervous system. Some amazing people did this walk. So when I did this walk many years ago, I walked in silence, and all you can really follow through the Pyrenees and through northern Spain are these yellow arrows through this forest. It's a trust walk. That's the bottom line. And on one of these days I met the most amazing man. He was a crazy man, a jovial man, a man that was in touch with the sheer joy and the celebration, the feeling of celebration of being alive. I'll never forget this man, and he was the only man that I took one day to walk the Camino with for one entire day. Apart from that, I was pretty much in silence, but I couldn't resist this man. And the moment I met this man, he started cracking jokes and poking fun, and we started having an amazing celebration. And as we walked together the next day, a day full of laughter, I remember this man had a humongous backpack. And you know, walking 900 kilometers through northern Spain is so intense, and this man had this crazy huge backpack. And at first I'm like, why do you need all that stuff? You don't need all that stuff. All that stuff. I mean, what are you going to do with all that stuff on this journey? But as I walked with him on this journey, as we came up to different people, the first moment, within the first hour, he pulled out something from his backpack and he gave this scarf as a gift to a woman along the journey. Then all of a sudden we kept walking. A few minutes later and he gave a book away. And then as we kept walking, a few minutes later he gave a little piece of jewelry to someone. And as we kept walking, he gave a stone he found. And literally what I realized and what he ended up telling me was, he really carries nothing in his backpack for himself. That everything in his backpack is to give away, and that his goal is by the end of the journey, a month or so of walking, is to have nothing left in his backpack. And that from that place I realized that this man was truly wealthy. This man was truly abundant, because in his sharing his gifts, in his sharing his love, he was inspiring and touching people. He was elevating and empowering those around him. In his sharing his love, he was having a profound impact. That from that place I realized that it's not what we accumulate that makes us great. It's not what we accumulate that makes us abundant, but it's in what we give away. And it's in what we give away that determines what we get to keep. And sometimes we're so busy holding on to things out of fear, and those very things that we might be holding on to, the house, the car, those very things, those possessions that we end up sometimes holding on to, if we're not careful, end up possessing us. Are there things in your life that you're so attached to, you put so much energy into, that now end up possessing you? That perhaps in that moment I realized myself how free I was not, how many attachments I had to things and to the world and to possessions. That it's only when you can really give something away that you are free to actually truly have it and experience it. But until that moment, you're in prison. So another way of me saying that is you can't really afford to have something until you can feel free to give it away. Then you can be free with it or without it, and nothing outside then determines your internal freedom or happiness or joy. To me, that is true abundance, because you're in touch with the abundance of your own being. And that doesn't mean that poverty is somehow more spiritual and being wealthy materially is somehow, not spiritual. Doesn't mean that. The two can coexist together. It's not about what you have or what you don't have. It's ultimately about your relationship with it. That the real renunciation is not simply about giving away all your material possessions, because you can give away all your material possessions and that doesn't make you more spiritual. But the real spirituality, the real renunciation, is about renouncing the belief systems, the attachments, the identities, the scarcity, the fear, all those things that might be limiting your free expression of your beingness from being as full and free and abundant as possible. And when you tap into who you are really, you realize in that moment with a smile in your heart how truly wealthy and abundant you really are, with or without anything. And then from that place, what you accumulate, what you generate in the world, is not something you need to feel okay. And what you create and generate in the world is not something you need to feel good about yourself. You move into life with a freedom from the overflow of the already abundant state of who you are, to give, to share, to serve, and to love. Remember this: who you are is abundance. live it now.